How do we continue our property investing journey? How do we break through that next level? How do we access more capital? How do we access more income when we don't have a high income to start with? How does the everyday Aussie go about buying investment properties? We're going to talk to someone pretty interesting. Her name's Kearney. She is a client service manager at an amazing company called Property Principles Buyers Agency, but she's been a conveyancer for 10 years. And she has built a property portfolio on an average everyday Aussie salary and done nothing special, but it's compounded over time to end up with something pretty incredible. I think one of the key insights that you're going to take away from this is someone's willing to sacrifice and put the effort and energy in and to get some incredible results because of that. And she's got 10 years of conveyance experience, which is amazing, so she can help dissect and break down. So we break down every single state's rules and regulations around what's the best way to structure offers, so how to think about the pest and building, the cooling off for Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, all of that kind of stuff and how it all works. And we dive into her property investing story because after all, that's what it's all about, and how she's been able to build and scale her portfolio. She had to do other things like selling down property. There you go. You might have to do it. It worked really well for her and it got her to that next level. Hey everyone, my name's Joe Tucker and together with Jeff Miles, we created Oz Property Investors, Australia's largest property investment community with over 76,000 property investors. And each week we interview top property experts and unpack their insights and value so that you don't make the same mistakes that they've done and you can learn and use the tips that they've got. Let's jump into this session with Kearney and learn a little bit. Let's go. Want to go around the grounds on the states around the rules. So just because no one else talks about this, and I think it's valuable for people that are out there. So high level snapshot, Queensland has a five-day cooling off period with a 0.25% pull out fee on the cooling off. And then you can have a pest and building clause and a finance clause that allows you to pull out of the deal. WA has no cooling off and has a structural issue only that allows you. You cannot negotiate on the pest and building, but there is electrical, plumbing, gas if it's in the contract. However, the area is very, very seller-centric, and agents will sneak that clause out so that you have absolutely no real rights in that contract. Victoria, they have a 3-day cooling off period and a 0.2 penalty for pulling out of a deal. And they have two very different clauses, very, very different clauses for pulling out for the pest and building. They have one agency will do the Queensland one and one agency will do the WA pest and building. So you're not able to pull out of the deal under that. So be very, very cautious. Very careful. South Australia is a super interesting one. Do you want to tell us quickly about South Australia, Kate?
Oh, South Australia. In South Australia, you have, so when you enter into the contract, there is a cooling off period. It's 2 days, but so the cooling off period starts when they issue the Form 1, which may not be issued with the contract, and you will have to follow it up because sometimes they'll issue it and they'll give it to someone else and you won't see it. So you will have to follow it up. That's your negotiating time frame for the building and pest as well. So you need to be making sure that you're getting your building and pest done during the cooling off period and negotiating any reduction during the cooling off period. One huge issue that I see in South Australia, this is the bane of my existence, is getting addendums, because in South Australia, unlike Queensland, they don't reduce the price at settlement. So the contract stays the same in Queensland, and all of the rebates are done in the settlement statement behind closed doors. Whereas in South Australia, everything's done via addendum. So the contract is varied in South Australia, and your bank, so in PEXA, where your bank logs in, they can see the contract price is different. So you need to make sure when you get the reduction, the addendum, you give it to your bank, or you're going to stuff everything up and you'll have to pay penalties, because they will charge you penalties in South Australia if you go over the two or 3 days from settlement period if you need to extend.
Love it.
anyway. So it was challenging. You had that Logan home property. And so how did that all go? Because that was an absolute cracking purchase, I believe. And you sort of done really well. And tell us about the property. I love the asset. If you're willing to share what the value in the asset is, because it's a really good one.
So obviously the property itself is about 22 minutes from Brisbane City. It's a 800 square meter block with a pool. It's only a 3-in-1, but it doesn't, honestly, for what I just rented it out for, it doesn't matter. So it was a great buy. I think back when I did buy it in 2019, I paid $455,000 for it,
Wow.
which, yeah. So it was. It's crazy to think now, right? $455,000 for anywhere that's on 800 square meters with a pool that's only 20 minutes to the city. It seems unreal now, but yeah, and I rented it out in 2 days a few weeks ago for $750 a week. So that's
$750 a week. So
yeah.
what is your yield on your property?
I think it's about 8.5. It's about
Yield on
8.5.
purchase,
But so it's a crazy, but I did renovate that whole house too. So the kitchen, the bathroom, all of the walls have been painted. So it has had a little bit of work, but to be honest, I did it really Kate style, budget friendly. I think I spent about $23,000 on maybe that's even at the top of it, when that's the whole bathroom, the laundry, the kitchen, all of it's done. We spent about $22,000. I am a cheapskate from way back.
I just wanted to bring up there's plenty of love, heaps of love in the comments, and this is the Facebook. Unfortunately, doesn't, but people are saying commendable, you made smart choices. Even Ricky Chu, the meme king, is saying she has a good, I would say, great mindset. Kate is the embodiment of whatever it takes. I mean, how good is that? Like, that's what I love about you. And you sort of said yes, that and you're talking yourself down yesterday. You're saying, oh, that was $450, but now that's probably worth at least $750, I would say, maybe even.
I think we'd crack an 8 on it now. Yeah,
there you go.
It's a lovely house, and if you went through it, and us renting it out really just showed us what a great house it was. It rented out in 48 hours, so it was really quick, and I was a little bit nervous, but yeah, it really showed that our work that we did put into that house, we did a good job. We really did a good job.
Yeah.
It's a really great state to buy in contractually. So I guess there's not many tips I can provide with that. So I guess going down to Victoria.
Hold on. Queensland, we've got some, very south if you're skipping New South Wales. But surely there's more. So I guess Queensland is more of a buyer-friendly state.
Very buyer, yes. It's a very buyer centered contract in comparison to someone like WA. So obviously we do have the 5-day cooling off in Queensland, which is fantastic, but no one ever uses it, because if you do terminate under cooling off, you can lose a portion of your initial deposit or the whole entirety of it, because generally it's only $1,000 or $2,000. Because no one ever uses that, because you just terminate under building and pest or finance.
Yeah. So in terms of finance, pulling out of finance, do you need to have an account, a letter from the bank to say, hey, by the way, I'm pulling out of finance on my finance clause because the bank has said no, and I have to give you a letter to say the bank actually has rejected me? Do I have to do that? Or can I just say, I'm pulling out of finance because screw you, I don't want this deal anymore?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Just like that. That is it. Please seek advice from your conveyancers, though. But yes, generally they do, unless they change the standard terms in the contracts in some way to benefit the seller, which they never do. Then you don't often have to supply any evidence of not getting finance. And even if they did want it, you'd just get a broker letter.
Yeah, that whole passage made me feel a little bit uncomfortable because as a former broker, we were instructed that we if there wasn't a decline of finance that we should not be providing letters. So some brokers may provide that. Because technically, and then it comes down to the wording in that decline letter, of course.
Yeah,
because
I've seen
technically,
a lot of them
if you can get finance, Anyway.
Yeah.
But just make sure you're a little bit. I mean, I love that. Yes, and maybe sort of buyer friendly, but just be mindful, particularly those people first watching on the fun police. I'm sorry, but so do we anything else in Queensland? Because
the cooling off period penalty is kind of what's that, Kate? 0.25%. So if it's a $600,000 purchase, then it's 0.25% of that is $1,500. If you cool off, but it sounds like we're going to not cool off. There's going to be 5 days, and we don't need to cool off under that. We're going to pull out under our pest and building clause, or our finance clause, and then we won't have to pay that $1,500 cooling off fee because we're not cooling off. We're going under the pest and building.
That's right.
All the finance. Yep. Love it.
So between number 3 and 4, we made a life-altering decision. Life-altering decision. It felt like it because obviously in property, when you come into property investing, it's sick word. Do I sell a house? It's sick. No one wants to hear it. Everyone's like, no, you never sell. Don't do that. Don't do that. So it was a really, really, really behind the scenes. It was a very tough not a financial decision. We didn't have to sell it, but a strategic decision on our end to move forward in a better position in the property investment game. So we did end up selling Coomera. We sold it last year in August. We did sell that to get around paying capital gains because the way we'd structured our property portfolio and in the early days, it allowed us to sell that one with advice from our accountant. I just thought I'd say that. We were able to sell that property and get around paying the capital gains tax on it. So when we did that, our reasoning for that was for cash flow purposes because what we'd done, and this is, again, I guess a mistake that I've learned a lot from, is we'd pulled all of our loans into one big lender. And because we'd done that, and because, again, we're not making $400,000 a year, we were strapped financially in the eyes of the bank.
Yeah. So even though that Logan home property was about to sort of be rented out, or could be rented out for $700 or $750, whatever it was, and that's the challenge with continuing to build that portfolio. If you're not earning that sort of, particularly in interest rates of 6%, where they would have been assessing you at sort of that 9% as well. So it's not you're not actually, the bank's not chucking in a 6%, they're chucking in 9% sort of interest rate. There's that buffer, the upper rate. So which then you say, well, I'm easily affording these properties on the debt. But according to the bank, you're just living sort of paycheck to paycheck, which I don't feel that you would have been. But yeah, there you go.
So what you bought it for how much and built it, built, and then what did you sell it for in the end? Like what was the actual end profit?
We sold for $770.
Right. And how much did you buy in?
We paid at the move in ready. We paid $442.
Okay.
Yep. That's great. So you're talking about a tax-free capital.
$328,000, right? Which I think that this is one of the biggest hacks. If you're in a very affordable area and you that has some strong fundamentals that you can grow, I see so much better opportunities. I live in Cronulla, right? So if I want to buy and live in a PPOR, I need to have $3, $4, $5 million to have a house. But you decided to move out to the sticks and take that lifestyle sacrifice to be able to build a portfolio in a good area that's going to grow. But $328,000 of actual profit over, if it was an investment property, you'd have to pay capital gains tax on that. Yes, you would get a capital gains tax discount, but you would still be down, I don't know, $80,000, $100,000 or something like that of capital gains tax would need to be paid. So I just think there's so much, this whole PPOR, like there's the whole 6-year rule. So if anyone doesn't know what that is, I'm not going to explain it because I'm not an accountant. But there's a 6-year rule that the ATO has about capital gains tax, and it's do I pay the government $80,000 or do I move this capital into another asset that's going to be a little bit more aggressive? And so I'm definitely not against selling. And it's awesome that you saw, like it's funny, you still saw this from an investment perspective. You weren't looking at this from, well, no, we should sell because I like it. And no, it's a sell because it only makes sense on a spreadsheet. It makes perfect sense.
So we ended up selling. We sold the property. We refinanced one of them out of the bank that we're in, freeing us up. So now I don't go with all of the lenders in one lender with all of them, because it just gets too tricky at some point. Too much liability with one bank, I guess.
Loved your journey so far. Great mindset. With the Coomera property, did you feel at any time it was a bad purchase? Because from 2016 when it was built, there was a period where there wasn't much growth. How did you feel about that? And what were your thoughts?
It was never, I guess we didn't buy Coomera for a short term, it wasn't a case of we want to have a 6.5% yield and we want to be making money on it tomorrow, I guess. It wasn't that sort of purchase. It was a long-term goal, and all of our investment strategies have always been a long-term goal, and it worked. So we did make the right decision. Could have we done better? I guess. Yes, everyone could probably say that, but it did take time, but sometimes they do take time. Would I do differently? Would I do that again? I wouldn't make that same decision now, but I'm so much more educated now than I was 10 years ago. So I guess the answer, I wouldn't do that again. No.